Hey folks, how you doing? So, you see, I have Tim, SugarcreekForge here. Been having fun last 2 days. He came yesterday. He was here for a big business meeting. Not a meeting. He's teaching people, he's teaching multimillionaires how to run their business. It's very interesting jobs. We spent last 2 days. He has always a lot of cool stories and a lot of wisdom to share. And I'm just so happy that he got to be here. He made it that, he finished the stuff that he had to do yesterday and is staying till tomorrow. And Tim is one of the people that we hang out together for a couple of days at Atlanta at Blade Show, at Bruce's place. And he's awesome. He is really good dude. But we went for dinner tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I took him to, all of us, my better half, that teenager girl, teenager girl and Tim went to Slovakian restaurant. There is one Slovakian restaurant here in Brooklyn. You like the food?
Loved it. Yeah, it was the first time I've had Slovakian food, and it was really, really good.
It's really nice.
No, I mean, I really liked it. And some, dumplings, some pierogies, and potato pancakes, and.
Would you say it's a big difference compared to like American cuisine?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think the thing I like about it is a distinct, taste. Like you're not just eating something that just kind of, oh yeah, that's nice. Something really distinct. So I liked it a lot, and it's fun being here with Gav and in Brooklyn, and I was coaching actually in Connecticut for a company and meeting with a bunch of their leaders, and I was close enough where I wanted to come and have a chance to visit with Mike, and like you said, kind of got to know him at Bruce's house, our friend Nebulex123, and a bunch of other YouTube friends that we met there. So it's been a lot of fun talking about knives and just hanging out and having a good time.
About everything.
Yeah.
Got the new analyzing machine, the power supply. We had fun with that. Tim was like laughing.
I thought he was gonna burn the house down.
Get kind of like a Tough Times got that analyzing machine, but I bought the cheaper version of it that doesn't have such a big spectrum of the voltage, adjustment. I think it will do just fine. I don't have the solution made up yet. So I was trying to use the etching solution. I thought it was gonna work. It works to a certain degree, but it's not what you're supposed to use. Mm-hmm. And then out of like pure craziness, I decided I'm gonna arc my engraving Dremel to create an arc with electric and actually make a carbonizer. It actually looks like it is working. It actually looks like it is doing what the carbonizer is doing, which is kind of fun. Yeah. Gotta do some research on it, but it actually looks like it is welding that carbide on the titanium, which would be epic if it works. I mean, it's fun. I'll see tomorrow. You'll probably see some, hopefully tomorrow. I need to pick up some distilled water to mix it up with that TSP PF. Yeah, and that's that analyzing solution what you're supposed to use for this DC analyzing. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be fun. I think it's like little kids when we were at Jeff and doing all these colors, playing with it. You see it in his videos, like it's a fun little thing to do. And Tim, you have the same. You do it. Yeah. You have the analyzing machine.
Yeah, I use an old etcher that has variable, and then I've got a couple big. I mean, I have a huge. I'll have to take a picture and show it to you, but I have a huge industrial power supply that came from aircraft manufacturing, and one of my clients owns a big air parts business, and he gave it to me. And so that thing is super old Bakelite, knobs, and looks like Frankenstein monster thing, Dr. Frankenstein.
Little coils that like light up when you turn it on.
It's old school, but I think it's super powerful and stuff like that. So.
You ever played with that?
Just a little bit, but I'm gonna get it out. So.
It's fun. I want to turn that. My project for that is have one power supply and be able analyze with DC, do some tricky stuff with analyze with DC, do some tricky stuff with AC, and also now when I have an idea, also turn it into carbonize. I think that would be fun little project. I'll see. My work might get burned in like 2 hours of work. You never know.
Just start saying don't burn yourself.
It does say there's a short circuit protection, so we'll see about that. Tim, if you remember when I did the little Damascus blades and I sold them for a charity for very cheap and sent all the money, that's Tim's charity organization. It's called The Reckoning.
Yeah.
Is it just The Reckoning or is it The Reckoning International?
Yeah.
And I've talked about it a little bit before. Tim is a bazillion times better speaker than I am. He's very cool to listen to. He has a lot of stories from running the business to knife making to just traveling stories. I was like yesterday, I was just like listening to him in Ave and he was like, am I boring? He goes, no, keep talking. It was like 1 a.m. and he's a really good person and really cool stories to listen about, and a lot of, even from the basic stories, a lot of things to pick up from, like learn from. I mean, yeah, it's like 200 years you do pick up some wisdom. He actually looks a lot younger than he is.
Yeah.
Tell us something more about The Reckoning.
Well, The Reckoning's international development organization, and how it started was I was in Nepal, and I had gone over with some friends. I'd lived there when I was a kid, and I'd gone over with some friends, and I took a group of doctors over to do some medical work, and I found out, and it was just as a project, and then I found out that in the southern part of Nepal there are about 150,000 people in a slavery system. And so I started working with some of my Nepali friends, and we just decided to do this little thing where there was one day out of the year in Nepal when you could go to a master and redeem slaves from them. And they're in a system called the Kamaya system. And so we bought 15 people out of slavery, and then we helped them. We said, hey, we got these little pieces of land, and we said, if you live on this land for 1 year, get a harvest, we'll give you this land. Because again, we're looking for a way to say, how can we help these people without just giving them handouts? Because again, I think if you just give people things, it creates dependency. But if instead you can teach them to work, you can give them dignity. And so anyway, this thing just started out as a small thing we wanted to do, and kind of just grew from there. The next year we redeemed 150, and then the year after, the Nepali government, kind of enforced the anti-slavery laws. But what I found out was I had this appetite, this desire to help these really poor people. About half the world's population lives on less than $2 a day, and poverty is a real huge problem. So, I was looking for ways to say, I'm a business coach by profession. So here in the U.S. and then abroad, I travel to help businesses, and I coach business startups and do this and that. And I really believe there's something powerful about helping people to work, the dignity of working instead of living off of handouts. So that's actually how The Reckoning got started. I thought I got to get a legal structure, so I did, got a 501c3 status from the government, so I'm completely, IRS, did everything 501c3. And so started working in a bunch of different places, and just give you a real brief example of some things we do. Like I'll tell you a story about, we were in Kenya, and about 4 years ago, we met this lady. Her name is Scylla, and at the time when we met her, she was a widow, HIV positive. Her husband had been unfaithful to her, got AIDS, came home, gave it to her. She didn't know it, and then her husband died, and she found out she has AIDS. So she was dealing with kind of the pain of that, and wasn't able to feed her kids, wasn't able to buy her medications or pay for them to go to school because education's not free over there. So when I met her, I said, hey, I'd really like to help you. And so we took her through a little bit of business training, and I helped her to start a small business. She started a small store in her home, and I loaned her, we loaned her $30, 30 US dollars. And so she took the business training, took the $30, I guess it was, and bought a little bit of inventory and started this little store. Well, for the last 4 years, she has fed her family, paid for their school fees, she's been able to buy her medication, plus she's been generous to others, and she paid that $30 back long ago. And we never take any money out of the country. I mean, when someone pays the money back, it just goes into a fund, and we just keep circulating it. And I look at her, and she's not living off of handouts. She's not living off of, even though, technically you could say the Reckoning is a charity, it's different in that, when you think of charity, you think of just like handing stuff out to people. And that helps in relief situations, like we had, Hurricane Sandy or, things like that happen where people are just devastated. They need relief. They need short-term help. But that's not a long-term solution for people. If they don't work and they're just living on handouts, after a while they start losing certain kinds of motivation. And Scilla is prospering amazingly, and she's one of many people that we've helped in that sort of way. So I don't mean to talk too much about it, but it's like that's kind of the basics of what we do. Is we're looking for ways to create livelihood, to say, hey, how can we help people develop their own gifts and talents? And it's amazing how some of the poorest people have some of the best ideas and great ideas for things that they can do. And when they get a little bit of training, a little bit of encouragement and backing, it's amazing. So anyway,
that's what got me also like really into Tim's organization, because I'm gonna be honest, I was never big into the charity stuff. I always it's things that I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys get also discouraged by, that you give somebody $100, that most of the money probably goes to the administrative fees and this and that. Very, very little bit of the money that you would donate actually goes to the real help. And that's one thing. You don't use that money that are donated to the administrative fees.
Right.
Tim gets the money, the administrative fees, gets the supplies, gets this and that from completely different sources. That are actually, you said you actually contact, sometimes you get different funds, or you actually contact company, hey, at this time I do need money for the administrative fees. Are you willing to help? I said, yeah, we are, and they help. So if you actually donate, you go to the website and donate, that money goes to those people to help them. And at the same time, that the whole concept of Tim's idea, I love it. It's just, I don't like handouts. I don't like giving handouts. I would never expect to get a handout. So the whole concept of how it works, you don't hand stuff out, you teach people how to become successful or survive and self-sufficient. I think it's amazing. Because you don't just help somebody, you don't just buy something to somebody, you teach them how to make it happen themselves.
Yeah, it's really true, and then they're so proud, they're so happy that it works out that way, because you're more like equals now. If you're just giving money, I'm the great white man, I'm here to help you, or whatever. Charity is easy. Justice is hard. When you say, hey, we're equals, I want to help you, and we want to partner together with you, that's harder. And as you said, it's fine. Like a lot of organizations, how it works in nonprofits is, if you use 20% of the donations that come in, so for every dollar, if you use 20 cents of it to pay for your admin costs, that's actually a good practice. They would say, oh, you're doing a good job. But what I've tried to do, because it's not my job, it's not what I do for a living, what I try to do, and we've been successful in, is, like Gavko said, is I raise all of the administrative funds. So in other words, if we have to buy paper, or copy paper, or paper clips, or this or that, we do not take that money out of the gifts that people give us to help the poor. I raise that money. I go to business people, to friends, and I say, listen, we have some administrative costs, we have to do this, we have to do that, and I raise the money specifically, so when the person's giving it to me, he knows. I'm not saying this is for someone in Africa. I'm saying, look, we got to buy some copy paper. Will you give me the money, or give me some paper? And I mean, that's just a simple illustration. And I want to try to always do that. We've been successful so far. We've been able to do that, and I think that's one of the reasons too that we've had a lot of credibility, especially with businesses. They like that. They would much rather have us be straightforward and say, this money is for our program services to poor people. This money is money that we need to, take care of some admin cost or something like that. And so that's been my goal.
I respect that a lot, man. I remember I had the tears in my eyes when you told us the story
Yeah.
about the slaves and everything.
Yeah.
And everybody who I talk to, who knows, who watched the video and who heard the story, everybody says the same thing. Lenka had the tears in their eyes. Everybody had.
Yeah.
It's like it's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, you know, we take our freedom sometimes for granted here in the U.S., and it's unfortunate because we have so much. And
We have a lot of things for granted.
We
not
do.
even freedom.
Yeah, but I mean, we bought human beings like you would buy a dog at the dog pound. One of the wildest things is I have some receipts and for buying people, and you know they're written, and then these people have been slaves. They've been slaves for 4 generations, couldn't read or write, so they have their thumbprints on them for their signature. And I just look at it, and it's just amazing. I was back at the beginning of this year. I was in Nepal, and I met 2 of my friends, the first people that we redeemed. I was able to see them again this year and talk with them and
Yeah,
hug their necks and stuff. And
Tell the story about Africa. That was amazing.
Which one was
This year, when you were recently Africa, knife making.
Oh,
How cool
this is so unbelievable, and I'm glad I can share it here. I went to Africa this year, you know, for one of my trips, and so I was in Uganda, and one of my employees who's working over there, she's a soil scientist, she said, "Hey, I want you to meet this university professor I know." So I sat down with him to have a meal, or to drink coffee, and he was telling me that he's helping these orphan boys in Uganda, and he's got like 5 or 6 of these young, you know, they're 16, 15, 17-year-old orphan guys. And he said that he's been wanting to find a way to teach them a trade. And I'm not kidding, we're drinking coffee, and he says to me, "You know, I was thinking that if somehow I could teach these young guys to make knives, that somehow would be a good thing." And I just was stunned. And he said, "What I would like to do is somehow find out how you make knives, and I'd like to find someone who could help us." And he said, "You know, I've just been thinking about that." And he told me that he had even prayed and said, "God, help me find somebody who makes knives." And I just started laughing. I was like, "Well, you know, I am a knife maker." And he couldn't believe it. So what happened is, I told him, I said, "I want to come back in 2013. I said, I'd like to bring some friends who are knife makers, who forge and things, because I think if we help them to forge knives and charcoal, it'd probably be best." And I said, "You know, when I come back," I said, I'll fund it, I'll do everything, because I said, what if we get these young guys making really nice knives, and that's what they do instead of, you know, begging or, you know, whatever. They're knife makers. So anyway, I was so excited, and when I came home, I kept, you know, just thinking, hey, what am I going to do about this? And he sent me an email, and he said they're watching all of my YouTube videos, and they're following the Sugar Creek Forge build along.
That's awesome.
They showed me, like, they had these knives that they were making, and they're just real, you know, kind of crude, and they're like so proud of them and stuff like that. So what I think is going to be neat is, I'd like to see in 2013, I'd like to go over there and help them maybe launch a little, you know, Ugandan bushcraft, you know,
I told him,
making.
Tim called me like soon after he came back from Africa. He told me about it. Yeah. I was like, "Dude, I'm gonna be the first one who buys one of their knives." It's how cool is that?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was
really
just
one of those things. Like, what are the chances of that?
You know, and it's funny because when I started doing YouTube videos, I never thought it would be such a cool part of my life, and the impact. Like, who would have thought that you're, you know, fooling around with knives in Sugar Creek, Ohio, and maybe someone in Africa, you know, start making knives or whatever. So it's so fun. So you have to drag some of our YouTube friends to Africa.
YouTube has been a really good experience. If
Yeah.
it wasn't for YouTube, I wouldn't know you. I wouldn't know Bruce. I wouldn't know so many cool people that I got to actually meet in person and became real friends. Like, and I'm not talking now like friends over the keyboards. I'm talking like real friends. Like, I'm welcome in Ohio, or they're welcome here. Like, it's like, you're coming back? Oh, sure, come here. You're welcome. It's like, it's real friends.
Yeah.
Some people probably don't realize like when you say that internet friends and stuff like that, it's a whole new level of friendship, and a lot of people that I got to meet, and
Yeah.
it's not just that I know this guy from internet. It's far
Yeah.
beyond that.
Well, I think what's interesting is you watch people's videos long enough, you know, and they're talking, you really do kind of get to know them. And the people that I've met, like I have a really good friend from Northern Ireland, Noxie, Steve Knox, and, you know, was able to visit Steven, and he's just Noxie. He's just like he is. I just felt like I'd known him, and it wasn't one of those weird things, you know, because like then you spend a little time with the person and you can see more about him or whatever. But it's just been a neat experience. So
Okay, I think it's gonna actually cut out.
yeah.
Man, it was good. You don't even know how happy I am that you got to
Hey,
be
mutual,
here.
Mike.
Brother,
So good to
thank
be
you
here.
so much.
Thanks
man.
for
I
having
wish
me
you
in
could
your
stay
home.
longer, brother.
Thanks for the Slovakian food. It was good. So.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Take care, stay safe, and remember,
Don't cut yourself.